Is everyone like super quiet?
Yes.
Yeah, we're live.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay, I'm back. Okay, Alex, I sent you the link. If you feel like retweeting, and then we can start. Okay, back channel active.
That's you for now.
Oops, sorry. Okay. And muting everyone. And don't forget to turn on the amplify my voice thing, Alex. Great. Okay.
It's on.
Yeah. So, hey everyone. Welcome to Reckless VR again. I'm Udi Wertheimer, just in case you still don't recognize me. I mean, come on, I wear the same thing every week, so it should be pretty recognizable. I see some new faces here, so just so you know, Reckless VR is a VR Bitcoin meetup. We talk about Bitcoin, not about anything else. Nothing else is allowed, just Bitcoin. Anyone talking about anything else, pretty much kicked out. This is how we do things. But if you're new here, you should know that we do those events every week, and you can join recklessvr.com and you'll get invites to those events as they happen, or follow RecklessVR on Twitter, or join RecklessVR on Telegram, and you'll just get notified every week. Lots of ways to do that. And today we're hosting Alex Wilson. He's the co-founder of the Giving Block, which is it's actually a way to donate Bitcoin to nonprofits while also saving on taxes. But he'll tell us about that in a moment. But hey, Alex, what's up? Welcome to VR. First time ever.
Guys. Yeah, first time ever. Still figuring this out as I go. But awesome to be here and great to see everyone.
Yeah. It's good to have you here. Maybe tell us a bit about yourself. Like, how did you first get interested in Bitcoin, or whatever brought you into the Giving Block?
Yeah, I mean, I first started learning about Bitcoin through, I would say mostly through like libertarian circles and libertarian organizations. So, you know, even just following the work of, you know, let's say Reason Magazine and Cato Institute, organizations like that, you know, basically where a lot of gold bugs used to hang out. And started learning about Bitcoin. And then even my job after college, I was kind of your more traditional management consultant. And, you know, back in like 2016 and 2017, every company's favorite buzzword was blockchain. So there was a lot of like bullshit enterprise blockchain projects coming up at work. And
good times.
You know, pretty frustrating. Yeah, pretty frustrating to see that, but at least it got me more and more interested in Bitcoin. That's the good part of it. So, you know, started getting more and more invested into Bitcoin, and especially 2016 and 2017. And then, you know, by the end of 2017, when things were really rallying, just noticed a lot of people actually wanting to donate their Bitcoin to different nonprofits, except that most nonprofits had no clue how to accept Bitcoin. So in a lot of cases, people were having to reach out to their nonprofit and basically hold their hand through setting up a wallet. And as you can imagine, that's not really a fun process for either side. And just realized there wasn't really an easy way for nonprofits to do it. But, you know, really got inspired after seeing things like the Pineapple Fund. I don't know, Udi, are you familiar with the Pineapple Fund?
Was that you were cutting out in the end? I think I missed you. I don't know if it's...
okay. Yeah, I was just asking if you're familiar with the Pineapple Fund. I think most probably are, right?
Yeah, I'm familiar with Pineapple Fund, but I think, can you guys hear him? Because I'm not so great. Yeah, looks like good. Okay, fine. So we can go on.
Okay.
Yeah. So Pineapple Fund looks like people are familiar with it.
Yeah, so general recap for those of you who don't know, the Pineapple Fund was an anonymous donor who posted on Reddit basically saying, I'm going to give out, millions of dollars in Bitcoin. Hey, nonprofits, apply below basically. They ended up giving out about $60 million in Bitcoin. It was $56 million in Bitcoin to 60 different nonprofits.
Wow.
Totally anonymously, and then basically just disappeared afterwards. It was really cool to see though, but in a lot of those cases, the nonprofits had no clue how to accept the donation, and we're all scrambling to get set up to accept those. And my co-founder, who was a good friend of mine, was working at a nonprofit at the time. And we basically pitched his boss on hey, we need to create an easy way for nonprofits to accept Bitcoin, and spent a year building out the product, just to make it super seamless for the nonprofits so they don't need to get too technical about it. And then a little over a year, launched the company more publicly. And now we work with about 130 different nonprofits, including some of the biggest in the country, like United Way and American Cancer Society.
Nice. So you can actually, if you own Bitcoin, you can go over there and you can just donate to one of those nonprofits. And also, if you're a nonprofit, you can actually use your product to start accepting Bitcoin donations, and I guess other coins too, right?
Yeah, exactly. So if you go to our website, you'll see basically just an aggregated list of all the nonprofits we work with that you can choose from. It's about 130 of them, but new ones coming online pretty much every day. And one thing to keep in mind is, even though those nonprofits are listed on our website, all the donations are always going directly from you, the donor, to the nonprofit. We're not a pass-through or anything like that. So the funds are always going directly to the nonprofit, so you can get that tax benefit as well.
Right. So tell me about that tax benefit thing, because there seems like, for most things, it usually feels like, a lot of people who hold Bitcoin kind of don't want to spend it. Depends on who. I know I'm going to get frowns from the audience now, but a lot of people don't want to spend it. But this is different, right? With donations, what's different here?
Yeah, this is the one time it'll help you financially to actually use your Bitcoin. Donating Bitcoin is very different than spending Bitcoin. There's a reason people like Jack Dorsey donate $1 billion worth of Square stock instead of donating in fiat. You can think of Bitcoin donations as being very similar to stock donations for tax purposes, since the IRS classifies both of them as property. So as a donor, let's say you bought Bitcoin when it was $1,000 a coin, and you're donating it now when it's $40,000 a coin. Normally, when you sell it, right, you're going to pay capital gains taxes on that $39,000 of appreciation. In the case of donations, it's a non-taxable event. So when you donate your crypto to a nonprofit, you don't owe any capital gains taxes on that taxable amount that would normally be taxable, and you get the full $40,000 deduction on your tax return that year. So it's super, super tax efficient to donate that way. And if you're already donating fiat, you're making a huge mistake, because you could be donating 20 or 30% more by donating in crypto and then repurchasing that position. So you're probably going to stay poor if you keep donating in fiat instead of Bitcoin.
So let's say once a year I make I'm an ordinary guy. Once a year I make a $100 donation to a nonprofit I really care about, and I'm doing it with my credit card or whatever, because I'm also stacking sats, I'm stacking Bitcoins, and I definitely don't want to spend them. But you're saying if I'm doing that, I'm better off sending over the Bitcoins, because I already have capital gains over there, so I send over $100 in Bitcoin instead, or of course $1 million for those of you who did exceptionally well. But whatever it is, you're sending that amount, and then you can buy the same amount back in Bitcoin later, or at the same time, and you're saving on taxes because you're not paying capital gains. You're resetting your base price basically for those $100 or whatever it is.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. You're wiping out the capital gains on the donated portion. You're getting a tax deduction, and you're raising your cost basis for the future. So a lot of benefit there in all three of those. And plus, you're supporting a cause you like, right?
Yeah. So donating with fiat is just, if you own Bitcoin and you donate with fiat, you're just making a financial mistake. That's what you're saying, basically.
Exactly.
Assuming you have gains.
Assuming you have gains, which pretty much everyone should at this point, right?
I guess, yeah. Well, unless you bought like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even if you talk to like your accountant or your financial advisor, whoever helps you with your taxes, I mean, they're always going to tell you to donate your most highly appreciated asset first. So, for most people, that's probably going to be Bitcoin, might be stocks in some cases, but in general, people really underestimate the strategy of donating assets instead of donating fiat. So just keep that in mind, when you're doing your taxes or when you're making donations and that sort of thing, especially now that Bitcoin's gone up so much.
Yeah. So this is the benefit for the donors. I get that. What about the nonprofit side? Like, how do you get a nonprofit to even onboard Bitcoin? Like, do they get to you FOMOing into Bitcoin, or are you like outreach? Do you do outreach to them, or and like what does it look like onboarding a nonprofit into this thing, which is probably their first time they ever used Bitcoin for anything, right? For most of them.
Yeah. For almost all of the organizations we work with, this is their first time in any way interacting with Bitcoin, or even really thinking about it, to be honest. Most of them are total beginners. They've seen a headline or two about it, but don't know a whole lot. So we spend actually a ton of time, as you can imagine, just educating nonprofits about Bitcoin. That's the biggest hurdle still for getting more nonprofits onboarded is education. And as you can imagine, nonprofits are just like the general public in the sense that there's still a lot of misconceptions about Bitcoin, right? A lot of people still think, especially older people, still think, oh, this is just for illicit activity, this is for drug dealers, that kind of thing. So we get a lot of questions like that and have to kind of walk them through why they don't need to be too worried about that. I mean, in the end, for the nonprofits, this is a new revenue stream. And it's a cool way for them to connect with often generally younger donors, since a lot of nonprofits rely on a lot of older donors. And I mean, another thing is, you'd be surprised by how many nonprofits still get donations mailed to them, like as a check. It's pretty crazy. But,
Wow.
They're all starting to
Checks.
understand how much more efficient it is to take crypto donations. And the other interesting thing is a lot of these crypto donors, are actually only donating in crypto. So once people figure out this tax benefit, they're only donating in crypto. So if a nonprofit isn't accepting crypto, they're just missing out on, millions of people who have crypto.
Right. And do any of those like nonprofits choose to keep the Bitcoins, or are they all like converting them to dollars immediately, or what do they do?
It depends. So they have the option of either holding it or having it automatically converted. The majority still automatically convert because they want to be able to put that money to work right away. But with the recent price rally, we're seeing more and more of them actually opting to hold on to it, which is awesome to see. So I think, over time, there's going to be a lot more holding on to it. And in some cases, we've even seen some of them investing in Bitcoin, which is cool too. Just like we saw MicroStrategy, putting a bunch of their reserves into Bitcoin, I think we're going to start seeing that with a lot of major universities soon after we start seeing it with more public companies. Especially, we've started working with universities as well recently. university endowments in particular are interested in getting some Bitcoin exposure.
Right. That's interesting. And then do you help them with like I don't know, with custody or whatever? Like how do they figure out all this stuff? Because there's a lot to figure out
Yeah.
if it's your first time, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a little overwhelming for them if they try to just, set up their own wallet and all that stuff. We're lucky that we have a really great partnership with Gemini, the exchange. So on the back end, all the nonprofits actually have an institutional account with Gemini. So, I know I'll probably, get some faces made at this, but, most of them are holding their coins on Gemini and not in their own wallets.
That makes sense.
But it's just a matter of practicality, right? So longer term, hopefully they'll, manage their own private keys. But for now, the easiest way is to have them set up with an exchange account on the back end.
Hey, look, if I'm donating to someone, I'm happy to know that they're gonna not lose it because they don't understand how key management works. So I don't see that as a as a huge drawback, actually.
Yeah.
Like if you're new, right, and you're gonna get a volume, like a meaningful volume of donations, then maybe it's best to leave it to the professionals, at least as you're starting out, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it's really the only realistic way of getting them to start, learning more, because really we see this as like, it's still really early days for the nonprofits. This is their first time getting exposed to it. Some nonprofits are taking it a step further and not just accepting donations, but they're actually starting to use it to either, pay salaries, especially when they have international employees and things like that. We have organizations who are based in the US, but they're paying some of their staff in Africa in Bitcoin, which is awesome to see. So we think we're going to see that more and more. And we've even had donors reach out to the nonprofits and say like, hey, I'm going to send you a Bitcoin, but you have to keep it in Bitcoin and you have to actually use it in Bitcoin. So like either pay a salary with it or, buy a plane ticket for your staff or pay for a hotel room. However you use it, doesn't matter. But use it to pay for an expense that you'd normally be paying for in fiat.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like that. I can use that to kind of troll them too. Like, can I like ask for anything? Like you can spend it however you want, but only on Tuesdays. Can I do that?
Yeah, if your donation's big enough.
Sure. Okay, I'm gonna raise funds just for that, just to do that. That might work.
You can post an address to collect funds for that. But the other thing I wanted to mention that's kind of related to that, in terms of the donors asking them to use the crypto or the Bitcoin, is there's a big adoption component to this. When people say institutions are coming, right, and how that's good for the industry, nonprofits are part of that. Some of these nonprofits are massive, like managing billions of dollars in aid, and their online presence and physical presence is huge. In terms of getting in front of, the average person and making Bitcoin more mainstream. When a nonprofit gets $1 million Bitcoin donation and posts about that on social media, imagine your first time hearing about Bitcoin being in that context. It's a crazy good way of exposing people to Bitcoin for the first time when they hear it about in a charitable context. I think it's very different than how most people get exposed to it, especially people who are just seeing headlines about something negative, right? I think it totally changes the game for how you expose people to it and get people more accepting of it and putting it in a more positive light. So what we're doing is almost like a big PR campaign for the whole industry. Because all these nonprofits we work with, they're always not always, but frequently they're talking about this on their social media channels. We're educating their staff about it. It's getting in front of a lot of people. Some of our nonprofit clients have literally millions of Twitter followers, and they're posting on their Twitter like, hey, we now accept Bitcoin, or hey, thank you so much for your $50,000 Bitcoin donation. That stuff really seems to be going a long way.
Yeah. Do you have any examples of nonprofits that publicly received large amounts recently, or whenever?
Yeah, the largest
Putting you on the
recent
spot there.
donation we had.
Yeah, go ahead.
So only some of the donations are public, but one of the larger, more public ones that I'm able to talk to is just 2 weeks ago, one of our nonprofits called the Western Nevada Community Foundation got I think it was a 45 Bitcoin donation. At the time, that was about
Oh, wow.
$1.2 million, which was awesome. That was our biggest donation at the end of the year that's public. And, there was a lot of other really generous gifts too, to all sorts of different causes. I mean, lots of people donating $50,000 to $100,000 before year end to their favorite causes, which was really amazing to see. And you might have seen, I don't know if you guys saw this, but we started working with the Barstool Fund, which is helping support small businesses that are getting really hurt by COVID. And we raised about $1 million from the crypto community for that in just a matter of like a week.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really awesome. Yeah, I remember, I think I saw, was it Pomp that tweeted about wanting to donate, but they wouldn't accept Bitcoin yet. So I guess this happened afterwards.
Yep, exactly. Pomp was tweeting about it, and then we, of course, swooped in, got them set up so they could start taking Bitcoin for the year end.
Nice. That's nice. So
Yeah.
$1 million in a couple of weeks. That's good.
Yeah.
So
It was-
So how? Yeah. Sorry. Go on.
No, go ahead. It wasn't worth it.
Yeah. So the like, I guess you do like kind of. Seems like you do kind of like social media promotions and sometimes like events around those things. Like, how do you help promote those organizations? It seems like you do. I've been looking at, your Twitter profile, and it seems like it's more than just a checkout button, right?
Yeah. So we spend a ton of our time helping our nonprofits get in front of Bitcoiners. And a lot of that we actually rely a lot on our corporate partners. So for example, on Gemini, we recently rolled out a front-end integration on their exchange where if you're checking prices or trading on Gemini as of a few weeks ago, there's now a button that says donate crypto, and it's going to link you to all the nonprofits on our site that accept Bitcoin donations. So we're trying to get in more places where Bitcoiners are, in some way interacting with their Bitcoin, whether it's an exchange, a wallet, tax software, just to make donating Bitcoin more top of mind and a little bit easier. Another example is, you guys probably all know Blockfolio. For December, they ran banner ads for free to encourage people or their users to donate Bitcoin. So those are the kind of things we're working on. So if anyone in the audience, you run a Bitcoin company and want to help us spread the word, we're always looking for more partners to help us, make people more aware that they can donate crypto.
Yeah, that's good. And then, yeah, I'm thinking about those. As you mentioned, those organizations that happen to get like a large donation for the first time in Bitcoin or whatever it is, and they they make a tweet like probably the first time they ever used it at all, and they're like, yeah, we got like a $500,000 in Bitcoin. That has to make some noise for people, who are in the audience for that organization. And I mean, do you see, like, I can see how it brings the organizations into the picture, into like trying to get to know Bitcoin better, but I wonder if there's a similar dynamic from the donor side. So of course, I guess most of your donors are just like large Bitcoin holders or medium Bitcoin holders, whatever it is, that want to donate. But I wonder if there's like any sort of like newcomers joining into like looking into Bitcoin through through the giving block, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's a little anecdotal, but from what we've noticed, I mean, even the staff working at the nonprofits have started buying Bitcoin for the first time as a result of us working with them. So they probably aren't the donors in the short term, but they're at least starting to get interested, get invested, and they could be the donors, you know, a couple of years from now, right, when it's really appreciated. So we're definitely noticing people that are sort of in this circle of the nonprofits starting to get more interested and open to the idea of Bitcoin, right? So we're excited to see that. And I can only imagine how large the impact must really be, because of course we don't speak to most of the the audience that the nonprofits are marketing to. So I imagine it's having a similar impact on them too.
Right. And I don't know if you can share this, but are we talking like, do you guys have also like more, you know, of the smaller donations of people jumping in, donating, you know, $50, $100, whatever it is? Or is it all like high net worth individuals that really donate very large sums, mostly to optimize taxes?
You know, it's in terms of number of donations, the majority are small donations actually. So I would say the general donation size probably is like $50 to $100. You know, just seeing tons of those coming in all day long, and they of course add up. And there's even people who will send over, you know, as little as $1, right? Maybe they're just cleaning out their wallets, sending out some dust and things like that. So it's really a pretty big range.
That's actually pretty cool, you know, because you sometimes feel like emptying your wallet and you don't really have anything to do with it unless, you know, like you have small change there. Maybe you have some coin that no one, you don't really want to hold anymore and you don't want to bother with exchanging it back. So that could be, how many coins do you support? Is it like just Bitcoin, or can I donate anything? Like if I find some Tron in my wallet, can I donate that?
We don't support Tron donations, but we support about 12 different coins that are listed on Gemini. You know,
oh yeah,
of course,
that makes sense. Yeah,
you know, a lot of the other top ones by market cap, like Ether, Litecoin, Zcash, you know, DAI, and some other stable coins and things like that. Some of the newer DeFi coins. And ultimately, you know, we're going to keep adding more and more coins because, you know, as you all know, at least in the US, trading from one coin to another is a taxable event. So the nonprofits need to be able to accept the coin that has appreciated for that donor. And, you know, obviously Bitcoin is the leader here and appreciated for most people the most. But if someone's made a lot of money investing in, I don't know, Litecoin, we don't want to take away the option for them to donate to the nonprofits.
Yep. Yep. So that's interesting. You know, maybe you have you bought some Zcash like many years ago, and now it's worthless because that's what Zcash does. So, you know, so you want to get rid of it, and no exchange will take it now because everyone's listing it, so you can just donate it.
Yeah, we actually get a lot of Zcash donations.
Really?
More than most of the other alts.
So now you have an explanation. I know you must have asked yourself why Zcash. So now you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but I will say, in terms of donation volume, it's probably almost 90% Bitcoin versus everything else. 80 to 90%.
Right. Right. Well, Bitcoiners are just better people. We all know that. It's no secret there.
Of course. Much more generous, much smarter, much less poor.
Much more beautiful, handsome. Yep, all true. So we talked about other coins, but more importantly, and especially if people make some small donations sometimes as well, when Lightning support on the website, because I didn't see any Lightning support over there. Now I'm really putting you on the spot. What's going on?
So it's something we've been talking about actually, and something we're working on. We've talked to a few different partners who might be able to help us implement it. The biggest thing for us, since we're working with the nonprofits, is working with exchanges that have Lightning support. So that's been one of the barriers short term, but obviously that's going to change over time. So we'll see, but I hope that in the near future we'll be able to add Lightning support. It's definitely something where we're trying to prioritize.
Yeah, I see. You kind of have to connect it to the back end somehow. Do you have like any? I think I see people wanting to ask questions. I'll open this to questions in a moment, guys. So don't worry. Your time will come very soon. You can start. Everyone can start thinking about questions. It's really coming in a moment. So I see what you mean. You're like for Lightning, you need something to have backend support for that. I mean, there are some. I don't know how much demand you actually have for it. I don't know if people actually ask for it or not. But if they do, then there are some like services that would accept Lightning payments and then throw out mainnet Bitcoin on the other side that you can put into whatever it is. I don't know if there's a lot of demand for it right now, but
we haven't had a lot of people ask for it. But we know it's only a matter of time, so we want to be ready for when they do start asking. And I think even, what was it? Was it Kraken that's adding Lightning support soon? So that could be a cool option. We've also been talking to Bottle Pay, if you're familiar with those guys. Potentially working with them on that.
Yeah. Because look, fees are getting expensive. They're pretty expensive now. No one knows because everyone's holding, but it's not cheap. I can also, just for the sake of it, I can ask you about PayJoin. Like, when are you going to add PayJoin support? But then, I mean, I know that no one's asking for it. Waxwing, that's your fault. You need to promote it better, dude. People are not asking for PayJoin.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. No, because it's awesome. It's awesome because then you donate, you save on taxes, and you also get to improve your privacy a bit. It's like everyone wins. It's amazing. You should do it.
Yeah,
maybe
everyone here should donate.
Yes. Okay. I'm gonna. Well, unless you have something else you want to say before I open it to questions from the trolls in the audience, then I'm just gonna do that. And so you guys are gonna see a button pop up on the bottom right that says raise hand, and you can click that, and then I'll let you ask questions. And we'll start with Waxwing. Waxwing, you're first.
Hello, can you hear me?
We hear you. Yep.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
sorry. Thanks. That was really interesting. I want to sort of speak from the perspective of just like an ordinary person donating, more so than like some kind of very large or tax efficient donation. And my experience of donating in like online, like for example, Wikipedia is always asking me for donations, and I think everyone understands that. And I'm always like, well, no, I want to donate in Bitcoin. And they won't allow it. And let's say when they do, and there's a lot of like small, medium-sized things that want you to donate, and maybe they do offer Bitcoin donations. Then I'm thinking like, well, I really want to use Lightning for ordinary donations because it's much cheaper and it's more convenient and there's a better privacy profile to it. And you guys just discussed this point, and you also mentioned PayJoin, which is like a minor thing, but more fundamentally Lightning. And I feel like BTC Pay Server is the thing that people should be investigating. Maybe it doesn't fit the profile of a large non-profit, but maybe some medium size or smaller, I don't know. But it really packages everything into one. And I run BTC Pay Server myself and accept donations over it. I've accepted PayJoin donations, Lightning donations from people I don't know. So I think I just want to know if you've actually looked at BTC Pay Server and whether you think it might actually work as a good solution for at least some non-profit donation scenarios?
Yeah, great question, and it's something that's coming up more and more as BTC Pay Server gets more and more popular, right? The
Yeah.
big thing for us is, from a technical perspective and sort of a setup perspective for the nonprofits, that requires a little bit more, technical know-how to get set up than, let's say, a nonprofit opening up an exchange account with Gemini. So the technical barrier is the main thing right now, but
there are hosted solutions, by the way. I anticipate that point, and it's a very good point. But there are such things as hosted solutions, albeit there's a trade-off there. So it's not as if you have to run the server yourself, literally. It might be better if you do, but
Yeah. No, and I love BTC Pay Server, and I think we'll look to what our options are moving towards a system more like that. But for now, we're still a young and small startup, and trying to keep things as simple as possible for now.
Yeah. Understood. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Waxwing. Next question from Cody. Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Alright, I was just wondering, like, what the heck is this, man? Is this like a E3 kind of thing? Like, are you talking about multiple games? You're only talking about this one game? This is a Kickstarter? What's going on, man? I'm so confused.
Yeah, so this is a Bitcoin meetup. This is a Bitcoin event. We're talking about donating Bitcoins. No E3, no games involved. This is just about the idea of making Bitcoin donations.
Yeah, so what's Reckless VR then?
That's the name of the event.
I see. So that's not in any way a game or anything of any kind. This is just strictly about Bitcoin.
I'm afraid not. Some people think that Bitcoin is a game.
Got it. All right. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. Let's see. Next up, we have Andrew.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Man, how do I top that question? That was probably the best question of the night. Alex, thanks for the presentation. This was great. I think it was very informative. I'm curious. I know you mentioned a few times in some of your answers that people were making year-end donations. What sort of a drop-off have you seen since December 31st in terms of donations? Are you still seeing things trickle in? What are the sort of the sizes of those? Just curious.
Yeah, I mean, things haven't really slowed down much this kind of first week of the month, but I think that's mainly because the price continues to go up. So in general, the reason we see a lot of year-end donations, especially in December, is because that just happens to be when people are getting reminded by their, accountants or CPAs, whoever, to donate before year-end. So a lot of people wait until the last minute to do it. But of course, you can donate year-round and you get the same benefit. It just has to be any time before the end of the year to apply to this tax year. So I think as long as the markets keep performing well, that donations will continue, and I don't really think they'll taper off at all unless we get a big drawdown or something like that.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Awesome. Next question from Faison. Faison?
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
So I noticed on the fact on your website that some of your some allow anonymous donations through your platform, if I'm reading it correctly.
Yep.
Do you reuse your receiving addresses, or do you use a new receive address? I would imagine there has to be some sort of KYC to get the tax benefit for those that want to get a tax benefit. But that doesn't necessarily mean I want to divulge my on-chain privacy everywhere. Can you just comment on that?
Yeah, great question. So, we were very intentional in the way we set this up. where every time you use the donation widget, you're actually getting a brand new Bitcoin wallet address. So they're all only being used once. And in terms of the tax receipting stuff, the way it works is if you send a donation to that address you see in the donation widget, as soon as that donation is confirmed, it's going to pull that blockchain data and put it into pre-formatted IRS compliant tax receipt, which is going to have all the information you need. So you can actually donate anonymously and put in nothing more than an email, and you can use Proton Mail or whatever you want to stay as private as possible, and still get that full tax benefit. But in order to get that tax benefit, you're of course going to have to report it on your tax return. So the IRS or whoever is going to know you donated, but the nonprofit won't necessarily know who you are.
Sounds good.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, sounds good. He's already muted, but he agrees.
And
awesome.
One other thing to add to that that I just remembered too is when you put in your email for those tax receipts, we don't share that email with the nonprofit or use it for anything else besides generating that tax receipt that one time.
Awesome. Okay, next question from Fabian. Yes.
Ooh, nice. So I was wondering, where does your money come from? Since you're not the money goes straight from the donor to the organization, so you don't take a cut from that. But does the organizations pay you, or how does that work?
Yeah. So even though our clients are all nonprofits, we are a for-profit business, and we charge the nonprofit for our services. So there's a range of that, basically depending on how much help the nonprofit needs. It's a mix of educational services, consulting services, marketing services, all sorts of things, but it's pretty hands-on from our end, and we bill the nonprofits for that time, basically.
Cool, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, next question from Big Shortman.
Do you have beer?
We do not have beer, but thank you.
Oh.
Yeah, you're not in the age for beer. Come on, it's very obvious. Okay, next question from Chris. Chris, yeah, go ahead. Chris, you should see a pop-up asking you. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
perfect. The question is there any API or something in your where we can see that a donation was happening and we can see statistics of how much was donated? Not interested in who donated or whatever. It's more like having it confirmed that a non-profit organization was receiving that much donations. Is there some possibility to get some API, and even some proof, even to that this was donated there?
Great question. So that doesn't exist yet, but it's in progress. So we're working on it to make that more publicly available. And even things like having a leaderboard, right, for which nonprofits are raising the most, how much they've raised, how much are they raising in Bitcoin versus Ether, that sort of stuff. But yeah, pretty soon, probably in the next, 3 to 6 months, we'll have something like that publicly available.
Cool. Where to follow up to get the information when it's happening?
You can probably just follow us on Twitter or subscribe to the newsletter on the website. And we'll make sure to announce it across all of our channels when it does come.
Perfect. Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Yeah. In the meantime, one small thing would be, if you are a donor, on the tax receipt, it will show the nonprofit's information, including their EIN tax number. So if you wanted to, you could always, check in with the nonprofit to confirm they got their donation.
Thanks.
Nice. Okay. I think that's all the questions we have. So, well, at this point, I'm just going to thank you, Alex, for this talk, for teaching us about. I learned a few things. I actually had no idea about this. Donate the tax. Well, I don't know if it works in my country too, but I'll look into it. And but thank you for showing up, and thank you for doing this. This is cool.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and you know, I hope everyone watching will be a little less poor after this little tax lesson.
Hopefully. You know, I will a little less. And for you guys, thank you for showing up. Don't forget this happens every week, so you can sign up on recklessvr.com and get invites to the future events. And as we usually do, we will meet up in VR chat after this. So I'll do that in about like 15 minutes to 20 minutes. I'll start the VR chat room, and I'll send the details on the Telegram group. Unfortunately, Alex won't be able to join us because his premium hardware is not able to handle VR chat. But maybe in the future, maybe we'll get a VR headset one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's pretty cool.
Thanks for having me on, and everyone, remember, you know, go donate some Bitcoin if you can.
Yes. This is the lesson here. Okay. So thanks. I'm just gonna unmute everyone, and that's it. See you next time.
Awesome.
Well, if I was in the US, I would do a foundation, like a BitPaint foundation, and I donate to myself. And for sure, it's not for profit. It's just for hodling. So I'm not gonna like trade or anything with this. It just